The Red Ring of Death powerhouse had a ton of terrific games, but most people just stuck with Halo, Call of Duty, and Madden. I am the Game Collector, and this is Second Opinion Games, and today I show you 10 hidden gems for the Xbox 360.
Second Opinion Games.
SSX by no means should be considered a hidden gem, except for the fact that Tricky was so darn good, and so was SSX 3, that people didn't feel like they needed to pick it up for the Xbox 360. And what they were missing out on was one of the most thrilling snowboarding games I have ever experienced. It actually feels like more of an extension of the other two games because you start off with unbelievable balance and extremely overpowered character. Of course, you could still pick up different gear and snowboards to make you move even faster, even though I don't see how that's even possible because you're already moving at breakneck speeds. And I mean breakneck because you're just trying to survive some of these massive downhill experiences. This is one of the best snowboarding games ever made, and sadly, I myself completely passed it by because I didn't feel like I needed it. Turns out, I was wrong. Kick-Ass 2 was a licensed movie game, and most people know that licensed movie games are absolutely terrible. And when I first started playing this one, I felt like it was just sort of generic, and it is. You run around, you beat up people, you wait for your spot to counteract whoever's attacking you, and then you do a finishing move to take people out. The problem with this is, it's just the same people again and again, and you just keep on slaughtering them. Sure, you could zap yourself with stun guns to give yourself a little bit of a boost, but eventually you get tired of fighting them. So you know what? You do. And you just run past every single group of people, and then the game becomes hilarious to see how much of it you can completely dodge. Sure, the storyline's ripped off of the movie, but it does expand it just a little bit. So if you were a fan of the movie and you just wanted to experience a little bit of storytelling here and a whole lot of hilariously sidestepping every single quest in the world, well then this is probably a game you should try out. For a better beat 'em up, you might want to turn to a different movie franchise. Conan. This wasn't based off the 80s movies, more like it was based off of the comic books, which were over the top and gory as all heck. And if you've played previous Conan games, you would be rest assured that this is the very best one. Sure, there's even a little bit of nudity in here, just for that M rating, which has everyone just wanting to seek it out. Or at least you should, because the game is fantastic. It feels a lot like God of War. Matter of fact, I would put it up right with that. If you played it on the PlayStation 3, you would not know that because the frame rate and pretty much everything about the game suffers because the developers didn't know how to work with that system. But they did know how to make it work for the Xbox 360, where it is one of the very best games for the console. So if you even like Conan just a little bit, will be prepared to pull arrows straight from your chest and rip the beating hearts out of your enemies, because that's the type of game that this is. Not done with movie-based games, how about Rambo? Now I know a lot of people really hate this game, and it's probably because it's a light gun game without a light gun. You use the controller, and the auto-aim feature really hones in right to the enemies, so it takes away some of the skill involved with playing. Also, you have to reload, which means the timing has to be just right, sort of like the Gears of War quick reload style. You could also go into a blood rage mode, where you could use to regain some of your health. And if that's not enough, some of the other storyline elements involve QTE events. So if you're not a big fan of quick time events, well, you're probably gonna hate this game. But what is here is a good storytelling experience and a lot of actual gameplay. The graphics are just good enough to make it passable, but not so over the top that you feel like you're right in the Rambo experience. This is a simple and very forgotten about video game, probably because on most websites it says it's one of the worst games ever made. For me, I just don't see it. It's just kind of alright to me. And that's why I think a lot of people just passed it by. A much better movie-based game was Top Gun Hard Lock, and if you're not playing this game in full surround sound, you are missing half the experience. Same with the movies themselves, you need that audio experience in order to really get you in the mood, and it really sets the stage well with great music in the background and terrific afterburner sound effects, doing dogfights, flipping all over, and a crazy shaky cam, which makes the graphics look a lot better than they actually are. So it's just amazing how they managed to trick you to thinking the game looks so darn good, and they make the whole thing work. On top of it, it's not just normal missions where you shoot down airplanes. Sometimes there's ground targets. Sometimes you have to fly through areas that you don't think you should even fit through. Even the training missions here somehow feel fun and makes you want to become a total Top Gun yourself. If you're a fan of the movies, you will not be disappointed with this game even a little tiny bit, and you'll start hunger for a lot more Top Gun in your life. Maybe even to the point where you go and play the NES game and realize how bad that was. Heck, at least here you could even land on the aircraft carrier your very first try. Try and do that on the NES. You would probably crash and burn, which means it's crash time for the Xbox 360. This little-known racing game has you playing as a police officer trying to stop people, not just for speeding, but for real crimes, which means you have to investigate them by following them at a distance and then chase them down. The story is really what's the most compelling to me in this game, even though it's all told in the lamest cutscenes possible with just a couple of people with bad accents talking back and forth. The gameplay is remarkably tight though, so I just have a blast playing it. And even if you get in the most horrific accidents, you could then sort of play them back and move the camera all around and explore it. A lot of people have never heard of this series, even though they made like 3 or 4 games in it, and it all started with this. Crash Time on the Xbox 360, and it happens to be one of the coolest racing games I think I ever played. Let's look at something a little bit more old school now, with Monster Madness. Again, if you played it on the PS3, you probably hated it, because the Xbox 360 is where you should have been playing the game. It's a lot like Zombies Ate My Neighbors with a full-fledged story, a level upgrading system where you could completely pick up parts to weapons and make new. You quick dodge out of the way of all the different types of zombies, which come at you very fast from the very start of the game. There's melee weapons, there's lots of fun characters to choose from, and you could even play 4-player at the exact same time, which is probably what's best to play this game with friends. Otherwise, you're missing out on literally half the game. So grab a couple friends, pick up a couple controllers, and win back your neighborhood in one of the best homages to one of my favorite games ever, Zombies Ate My Neighbors. And it can be found at a ridiculously good price because everyone else also passed this by. Let's face it, this game rocks, just like Rock of Ages. A game where you play as a giant boulder and trying to smash your way through a door. But it's not that easy, because it's also a real-time strategy game where you can put down cows, elephants, and catapults to try and stop your opponent's rock from bashing down your door. So you actually have to think how you approach each mission. You could also get upgrades to your rock, like make it on fire or add a whole bunch of spikes. And then when you crash through stuff, you could earn more money to put down more defenses, or maybe even save up the money for a more useful rock. On top of it, the story here is hilarious. If you were a big fan of Monty Python, well then you'll understand their art style here and a little bit of their comedy, as you get to go through some of the coolest parts of history. And don't be afraid to run off course, because the hand of God will just reset your rock and let you smash through those doors all day long. It's not an easy game though by any means, and you'll be playing it a literal ton, not just for the great experience, but also because there's hidden keys around and you just gotta collect them all in order to get the best possible score. Which just goes to show you, just because a game has a really bad name and a really bad premise, doesn't mean it's really bad. It actually is quite great. Fanatica is probably the most underrated action RPG experiences I think I ever played. Most people just stuck with Skyrim, and I completely agree. Skyrim is terrific. and this game just got forgotten about through time itself. Playing as the Daughter of Death, which means the main hook here is that you can come back to life, which actually makes sense in video game form, unlike Skyrim, let's just face it, and explore this massive open world, solve incredibly fun puzzles that aren't just block sliding, but sometimes are block sliding, getting new armor and branching skill paths as you play through the game, just like, you know, some of the other action RPGs, only the fact that this one, your best friend didn't play and can't spoil the ending for you. So, if you want an experience that pretty much no one played, well then this gem is for you. But if you want a game a little bit more sneaky with a chick that's much hotter and won't stop killing people, well then check out my last pick. Velvet Assassin. If you're a fan of Hitman and Metal Gear, where you hide in the shadows, sneak up on your enemies, and slice them into little tiny bits, well, this time you can do it with a hot chick in a World War II setting. Also, you could pick up heroin needles, which means you could stab yourself with the heroin, go into a drug-induced rage, and murder everybody. Sure, it's a basic win button, but you know what? You don't get that win button very often, so use it when you can. Also, use the fact that you don't actually have to kill everyone in sight, even though you're gonna want to, which means sometimes you have to run past people. Also, the storyline here is incredible. The graphics are beautiful. The lighting is one of the coolest things I think I've ever experienced in a video game, and even though I don't play a lot of modern games, I was sucked into this one, and the fact that it's ridiculously difficult will have you playing for quite some time, just trying to see where this story might lead you, and if she ever does kick that heroin habit. So if you haven't given it a try, this is one you absolutely need to play, just like pretty much all the games I talked about today. But of course, that's just my opinion. Thanks for watching.
Ah! Zombies have eaten my neighbors! I will make them pay!
I'll do as I please, woman. Service her. Aye, and gladly.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I had a great time making it because I got to spend quite a bit of time with my Xbox 360, something I haven't done in many months. And I decided that this year, 2023, the year I'm making this video, is going to be the year of the Xbox 360, which means I'm going to give you tons of 360 content, just like I did with the Wii U a couple years ago, and even the Atari Jaguar before it. So if you want to find out all of the best hidden gems, well then subscribe to my channel, and also let me know what your favorite Xbox 360 game is, other than Madden, Call of Duty, and Halo, of course. So until later, I will see you again, guys.